Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first meeting of the regular council meeting of Malahide for 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin the agenda with disclosure of pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yeah, thank you. I have two, the Vershnik Drainage and the Harvest Bowl Grant application.
Thank you. So noted. Next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from the last meeting, December 21st. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder? We'll begin with the resolution.
That the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on December 21st, 2023 be adopted as printed and circulated.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Surinam moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All in favor? And that's carried. Next on the agenda is a public hearing. So the council will adjourn its regular meeting in order to sit as a committee of adjustment under section 45 of the Planning Act. Clerk Adams, may I have the resolution?
That the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be called to order at 7:31 p.m. and that Mayor Dominique Giguère be appointed chairperson for the Committee of Adjustment.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? And that's carried. So the purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for a minor variance as submitted by Ysbrand Boekstein relating to property located at part of Lot 7, Concession 5, Part 2 of RP 11 R 821 and Part 1 of RP 11 R 5541 and known municipally as 487726 John Wise Line. Mr. Steele, can you provide an overview of the application, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Before coming to a minor variance application that seeks to permit the construction of a 58 square meter louvered pergola close to the western side lot line of the property for the enhancement of the use and enjoyment of the amenity space of the property for the owner. The application proposes an interior side yard setback of 1.8 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum setback of 5 meters to side lot lines. And the proposed pergola is proposed to be screened from adjacent property by an existing hedgerow and privacy fence. Staff have reviewed the application against the 4 tests set under the Plan Act for minor variance applications and find that the application meets those 4 tests. There were no comments received from agencies or the public to date, and so staff are recommending that, subject to any further comments at the public hearing tonight, that the application be approved. That concludes our presentation. I have any questions from members of council.
Thank you for that, Mr. Steele. Before we go to members of the committee, does the applicant wish to provide any additional information?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Nicole McDowell. I'm acting as the agent on behalf of the property owner. I am also the building designer of the pergola to be proposed. I don't have any further comments, but I just thought I would state that I am present on the meeting for any questions, if there are any.
Perfect. Glad you could be here. And Clerk Adams, have there been any additional comments received from the circulated agencies and landowners not outlined in the summary?
No, there has not been any written comments received. There have been a few verbal comments received, and I believe that the neighbor is here to speak to them tonight.
Thank you. So does anyone else in attendance wish to make comments regarding this application? Please, can you get to the podium, state your name and address?
Hello, everybody. I'm Bev Kersad. I own the property at 48702 John Wise Line, which is on the western side of the said property. Not used to this, but anyway. First of all, I'd like to say I don't see any need for this variance. There's no good reason for this variance. Like usually a variance has a reason, from any I've ever seen. Somebody has to change or adapt their house to live in, or they want to go a little closer to the property line, or they want to put up a garage, or they want to put a storage shed, or they want to put up a workshop. Those are all reasons to variance. But this is nothing more than, there's no good reason for it. There's no need for it. The property we're talking here, their property, is at least 100 feet wide. So why does it have to be pushed so close to the property line? We live in the country. We're not in a small town lot. There was lots of room to put this so-called pergola. They didn't have to come this far over and everything. They've, remember my points here. They come over. There's enough room, even if they left the 5-yard variance, which I think is a great idea for country. There was still room between the pool they put in and the 5-yard setback to have 4 yards, or probably at least 14 feet to put up this pergola. Still, even if we left the 5 yards. The pool they put in is 30 feet from the fence line. I can't remember my points, didn't write them down. But anyway, 30 feet, they could still have, they could still have this pergola, could be 14 feet wide and 30 feet long, or however long they wanted to make it. Because that's about the size of the pool. The pool is 30 feet by 15, roughly. They could still have a pergola on the west side. But better than that, I don't know, still don't know what they're planning for the rest of this yard that they've left completely empty. But on the other side of the pool, to the east side, there's all sorts of room to put this pergola. Why does it have to be crowded over towards the fence? And now the the area itself there, they have, I've never, this pergola is going to be put up. I've never seen, or anybody apparently has not seen, an official plan for this. Apparently there wasn't an official plan drawn up yet or made yet, because they didn't want to spend money on this plan before the variance was allowed. But how can you have a variance, allow a variance without seeing an official plan of what exactly they're going to do or what they plan on doing? How big it's going to be and where it's going. And it doesn't show what is there already. So how can you make decisions without even knowing what is there now existing? And I know they wanted to originally put this right against the fence, because there's the whole area from the pool to the fence is covered with patio stones. There's a fence that was put up, a section of the fence. This happens to be 30 feet long, corresponding to the pool, and it is 7.5 feet high. The top of this fence is very level because they didn't follow the ground. They wanted the top level, but they're going to put a building or something there. I don't know. I never heard before that it was going to be a pergola. I'm pretty sure it was going to be more substantial than that. But I find it very interesting all of a sudden that it's going to be a pergola, but it's going to be a 1.8 meter setback. It's the first time I ever knew about that until I got that letter from the township. Before that, it was going to be, the fence was going to be the wall, one of the walls of this building or pergola. And that's a fact, I know it. You can tell by the fence and before you put the, but I was also told that he wanted to put it against the fence. Very interesting all of a sudden why it's 1.8 meters setback. Does this make it easier to get a variance, to look like a variance, and just make it like a simple little variance? This is still over a 3-meter variance. This is not a little variance. It just happens to be a little space from the fence, 1.8 meters. Why is it 1.8 meters? Is this where, that's because he's already got it there where he wants to put his pool pump is 1.8 meters from the fence? Because the plumbing has already been started there and some of the structure's been put up to put the wiring. So,
So thank you for raising those questions. Some of them,
I'm not done yet, but
yeah.
anyway.
So I just wanted to, from those questions you raise, can you speak to a specific impact on whatever is decided? Like we can speculate,
Mhm.
which may or may not be relevant to the application itself. But I suspect that if you're objecting, that there may be, you may have a concern or a negative impact to your property. Can you speak to that?
Well, there's a good bylaw there, 5 meters in the country. Why does something have to be pushed up against the fence? Like, why do we have to look at this structure? Why do we have to listen to them in there? I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of outdoor furniture and everything. They're going to be in there. There's going to be people in there, their family, whatever. Why do we have to have that close to the fence? It's just not any reason. This is a cosmetic. There's no reason for that. I believe, and it's a good bylaw, and I don't see any reason to destroy it.
So you said you had a couple of other.
Well, anyway, yeah, like this has been pushed, like they were planning on doing this no matter what. Till I mentioned to them about a 5-meter setback. Reasonable, put it up. You got, how much room they got? Well, when I talked to him, the neighbor about that, boy, did he get mad and he just walked away. He said, we'll see about this. The only time, yes, you did. Yes,
So
you did.
I would just ask you to speak to. So we-
Okay. This,
Just the main purpose of the public hearing is for us to.
Okay,
the
I won't
committee
get any-
members. Yeah, so.
I won't get
what
any
the
more
committee
personal
members-
stuff. Let's just say,
So what we need to hear and understand is your concern. So far I've heard noise potentially and other concerns. Like there are lots of questions, but ultimately it's your concerns of
they
how
keep saying this hedge, these trees. These trees are old spruce trees and they die from the bottom up. The branches are dead at the bottom. You can see right through them. They're diseased. There's virtually nothing left of them there. And it's just these trees, mentioning these trees all the time. Oh, and they had to be trimmed. Well, that's getting personal. Okay. It's another subject.
Okay.
But what? Oh, and the other thing I'm going to end with then, I guess, if they had went for 3 meters from the fence line, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have said anything. But they don't talk about stuff, don't approach you much about anything, just what they want to do. Besides, it would have matched the gazebo they put in the front yard, which is about 3 meters from the fence. It's within over the 5 meter. I didn't say anything about it, but they did it. They did it. Did they apply for it? Did they say anything? It's there in the front yard. this gazebo, and it's less than that from the fence line. That's my main, that's just something, I won't get into anything else involved.
Yep.
But
And I appreciate that because we have to respect
that's the main,
the purpose of the meeting itself. I know you.
oh, and to say this is a minor variance, and to say this is a 54 square meter, that is 625 square feet. That is 30 feet by 21 feet. I don't call that a little gazebo, anyway, especially crowding it to the fence.
So you mentioned then the noise and potentially the privacy if the trees
Right.
are not.
The trees are not providing anything anymore. Besides, they had to be trimmed.
Right, okay.
Because he wanted everything had to be trimmed to the proper line on his, even a great big old walnut tree.
So thank you for letting us know of those. I know you mentioned something about the drawing, like not knowing what the structure would look like. I think something was submitted. Mr. Steele, can you speak to that?
I was told there was no official drawing made yet.
Okay. Have
Through
we
your
received
worship.
some- Mr. Steele, go ahead.
Through your worship, as far as there is no official building plans that have been
Mhm.
prepared at this time. Essentially waiting for the owner seeking to go through the minor variance process first before proceeding forward. Or perhaps if the owner's agent maybe could speak to any aspects of the design of what the proposed pergola may look like, maybe of benefit for council.
How do you grant a variance without a plan showing what's there already? There is
Sure, I
something-
can speak to
Sure,
that. So we did submit a site plan, which does include the location of the existing dwelling, the location of the existing driveway, the existing pool, and where the proposed pergola is to be positioned on the property, as well as all the dimensions of said pergola and setbacks from the property line. As far as the pergola itself, it is correct that we have not proceeded with any sort of drawings of the structure itself. Again, for the purpose of just not moving forward in case the minor variance was not supported. But it is going to be a very simple structure, three-sided, open on the side facing the pool. And as previously mentioned, it will be a louvered pergola. So it will have the option, the roof will be essentially flat with the option to open and close. There in the bylaws, there are maximum height requirements for accessory buildings, so we do plan to comply with that. Off the top of my head, I am not sure what that is. But I believe, as the neighbor said, the fence that is already constructed is about 7.5 feet tall in its tallest section, the 30-foot section in the middle. So we do plan to stay around that. I believe we're aiming for an 8-foot tall structure to the top of the outside of the roof. So not underside, but to the top of the roof. Again, that wasn't mentioned in the minor variance because we're not seeking a variance for that. We do plan to comply with the bylaws for that.
Okay, thank you for this additional information.
That was just going to be my next question, just exactly what was this going to look like, how high was going to be and what was involved? Is it a flat roof, louvered roof? Are the sides closed in?
And the reason to know that would be to be able to assess the impact.
Yes, one of them.
Okay. Okay. If there are no
I-
further comments for now, may I ask you to take your seat and I will open it up to members of the committee for discussion. And if there are additional questions to you or the applicant, then we'll come back. That's okay?
Yes, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Committee members, questions, comments? Counselor Cerna.
I just have one. Who owns the tree line? You're talking about a tree line between the property. Is it joint? Or do you own? I don't. You own. All right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Further comments or question, Deputy Mayor Whitner?
Yes, thank you. Here to the applicants. I'm looking at your picture here. I can see it. Is there any wiggle room at all to make it maybe a bit narrower, a bit sit back a bit farther or something like that? I mean, there's always wiggle room with something, but I'll just throw it out there. Is there any?
I suppose there is the wiggle room. This was just at the request of the client that this is what size of pergola they were seeking to propose in that spot. So I suppose that's something I can take back to the clients, but as the agent and not the owner, I can't offer a definitive answer to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can speak to that. That really was our idea.
Yeah, can I ask you to, just for the sake of the public hearing, we need the public to hear you. You can state your name and address.
Yes, my name is IJsbrand Boekenstein. I'm the owner, together with my wife, of that property. We bought the property last February. We had some plans on what to do there. We came from, we used to live on Wellington Road, and then we moved to London, and we've moved then to Elmer now. Very excited about the property. It's about 5 acres of pasture. So we have some chickens right now. We're hoping to get some other animals there next year. So we really put the pool in, and I'm very sorry, Bev. I was not aware that we had to be that far away. You made me aware of that. I was going to put everything up. I wasn't aware of that, right? And when you told me, then I went. Then I said, okay, is there anything we can do? Because we already had gotten how do you call it, permit to put the pool in. The pool was already in. We had it all planned out. We put the fence up because we wanted to make sure Bev and Linda really liked their privacy. So we wanted to make sure it was a closed up fence there. We put a wall up to make sure everything was according to plan. We have to 4 feet of fence around everything. We did everything according to what we were supposed to do. And then he made me aware that you're supposed to be that far away. And I kind of, oh boy, at that time the pool was in, and it's like, I wasn't aware of that. We really had no idea that we would. So then I thought, well, what can we do? And Bev then suggested that, but it just changed all our plans. And then we just found out if we ask for a variance, then we'll go. Anyways, that was our whole plan. There was no intent to hurt anybody. The only reason why I asked him to cut his trees is because they're hanging over our property and they're shedding. I've even paid for some of them, to take a branch down because, I couldn't plant any mine. Beautiful tree had there, but we paid for it to make sure. I paid for the fence to make sure it was beautiful and it looked good on his side too. I'm looking for working together with them, but I must have done something wrong in between there. So I would really like to move forward, and I don't think this pergola is it's really not anything that's hurting him because the fence is in between there. But anyways, I'm just listening to council. I'm just asking for a variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're here to listen as well. So thank you for that additional information. Deputy Mayor Whitner, did you have further questions?
Yeah, I guess further to my first question, could there be any adjustment made at all that would be satisfactory to both? No, not at all. You're an applicant.
My name is Grace Boekenstein. I think just aesthetically, it would make a huge difference for us if we had to put it right next to the pool. It is a space that we may have a patio at, so all we're asking for is that we can cover it so that we can be protected from the sun. I don't think that we are disrespectful neighbors. We're not loud. We have, and we have been very respectful even of trimming the trees. Like when there's some dead branches we just wanted to clean up, and that was a concern to him. So we stopped and we said, well, what would you like? We even asked, what would you like us to do to ensure that you still have the privacy that you wish? And then we said a fence. And then we initially even asked, would you be willing to, if a fence is typically a joint neighbor venture, and we never approached him to pay for it. We did that ourselves. We made sure it was aesthetically pleasing. I think it's a beautiful fence, and and that was a concern to us. We wanted to make sure that we were respectful, that they wanted privacy. So I'm not sure, we're not loud neighbors. We just want to enjoy the space there. And we have ensured their privacy. So I guess
Okay,
we are trying our best.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for that additional information. Other questions from members of the committee? So it sounds like there will be a patio there anyway, in terms of people gathering and having conversations where the noise, so the structure would probably not affect that. Okay. Okay, so thank you, everyone. There are no further comments. I want to thank everyone in attendance for your input on the application, and now we'll ask the committee to make their decision on the application. And Clerk Adams, can you read the resolution?
That report number DS 2401 entitled Application Number D13 MV 1023 of Application Number D13 MV 1023 of Yisbin Bookstein and affecting lands described as part of Lot 7, Concession 5, Part 2 of RP 11 R 821 and Part 1 of RP 11 R 5541 in the Township of Malahide, 48726 John Wise Line be received, and that the Township of Malahide Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application number D13 MV 1023 to permit a pergola with a reduced interior side yard of 1.83 meters, and that the approval shall be subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner applicant obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official, ensuring that the approved variance applies only to the proposed accessory structure as illustrated with the application, and that the structure be constructed as per the details shown in the drawings as provided with the application, site location, and architectural detail to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Thank you. May I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Lewis moves. May I have a seconder? Councillor Wilson seconds. All those in favor?
I guess
Councillor Wilson would like to speak. Yeah, is your microphone on?
sorry. Is there any repositioning of the pergola that can happen? Like if this was a shop, I would just vote against it. It's too close to the line. But if it's a pergola, a patio with a roof over it, it's not like it's different than a building. However, is there any repositioning possible? Like I'm just asking. I don't know.
Am I able to speak to that question?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
So I guess the main reason why the current position was chosen, as the owner previously mentioned, is that was the original spot chosen for the pergola. On the opposite side of the pool, it is their open backyard, which faces their driveway. So it would be taking up space in their own backyard and their own viewing. Whereas in its current position, there's already a fence there, which is already 7.5 feet tall. So the proposed pergola is really not obstructing any sorts of views or usage from the neighbor, as that is already obstructed. With concern to the noise, a proposed pergola would actually dampen any noise versus just an open patio, because there'd be an extra 3 walls to block that before reaching the neighbor's yard. So if the neighbor is concerned about noise, the proposed pergola would actually dampen and help that, as opposed to create more. So I as the designer, I do believe that this is the most ideal position for it. I do realize that it's not in compliance with the bylaws, hence seeking a minor variance. Another note that I will bring up is that many other municipalities also have a setback specific to accessory buildings. So there is a main dwelling setback and then also a separate accessory structure setback. And a lot of times that is 1 meter. I understand Malahide doesn't have that specific zoning bylaw. But in the case of, say, a different municipality, we would be exceeding that sort of setback. So yeah, I don't see how repositioning it to another area would be of any benefit to anyone.
Okay, thank you for that additional information. And I have another question from the deputy mayor. While we do that, I'll ask Mr. Steele, I don't know if you recall, if there have been other accessory buildings that we've approved, because I appreciate there is a difference between the main building and accessory building. And is this the type of minor variance that we've considered before? So while you think about that, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just maybe didn't make myself clear what I was asking the 2 questions. If you were to make this building of yours, let's say 5 meters wide, would that work? You're at 6 now. If you took a meter off, I'll just throw it out there. In the width.
It would leave a gap right between the fence and that, right, which a little aesthetically, and aesthetically, it wouldn't be, I guess, preferable. If there's patio there, we can sit there, but we can't put a roof above it, right? That would be, anyway, so I guess we were not aware that this accessory structure was going to be, that had to be set back that far. That's why we're applying for the variance. Because makes the yard what we would hope it to be, I guess. And
Our main concern, I'm not sure, you know what, our place is quite a ways away from their house. I mean, it's not like we're 10 feet away. Their house is like 40, 50 feet away from our. I'm trying to understand why that is happening.
I just throwing it out there. If it was made a little narrower, would it work for both of us? I'm just trying to find some happy medium here.
I think it's like where we are proposing it to be is north of their house, like we're not beside their house.
And so for the purpose of this meeting, we don't have to agree or disagree on whether the objection is valid or not. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody has a different view of their aesthetics. So we're going to focus on whether, so there is, there are rules and now we're asking to bend the rule, and that's what we have to decide. If this is warranted to not apply the rules. If we didn't need those rules, then of course we would not have them. So is this warranted? Don't know, Mr. Steele, if you want to comment on previous cases that would inform this decision a little bit more. I also have Councillor Cerna. Mr. Steele?
Through your worship, to my recollection, there hasn't been a previous variance like this for the A1 zone. To which, in case, from my recollection, most of the variances for A1 zones would be for larger other structures and typically wouldn't be for things of this nature. I see that in speaking to the purpose of the A1 zone typically doesn't have separate setbacks for accessory structures just because the nature of being in an A1 zone due to just the size of the parcel. Other A1 zones don't have that just due to that other accessory structures related to farm buildings may have greater sort of nuisance associated with implement sheds or other uses. So that's why the A1 zone typically doesn't have separate versions for accessory structures. But to my recollection, there hasn't been a similar variance like this recently.
Okay, thank you for that.
Just for the A1 zone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, that explains it. Councillor Cerna?
Yes, thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Following up with the Deputy Mayor's question, what's the distance between the proposed pergola and the existing swimming pool.
Can I ask the agent to comment on
Yeah,
that? 'Cause she's on-
certainly.
Yep.
What's the diff-
Yes, so the existing distance from the property, sorry, did you ask from the property line to the existing?
No,
pool?
from the proposed pergola to the existing swimming pool.
Sorry, I have the drawing up. I just need to take that measurement. It's approximately 2 feet.
2 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, 7.
I'm hearing behind me 7 to 8 feet.
7, 8.
Okay, so is it 2 feet or is it 7 to 8 feet?
And to clarify, obviously the pergola has not been built.
No.
So we're talking about an existing,
Well, the
existing
proposal
patio.
I see in front of me is, it's supposed to be 6.09 meters wide, 9.1 long, and 58.3 meters squared. I'm asking for the distance between the proposed pergola, the distance between what's being proposed and the existing swimming pool.
approximately.
She's saying 2 feet and they're saying 7 feet.
Okay. Okay,
I'm asking the proposed, width between here and here.
On the 1.2 meter.
No, the distance between this side and what the pool is. That's what I want to know. Is that 7 feet? Is
yeah,
that
so
7 feet here?
approximately 7 feet. Is that-
Yes, this should be about 7 feet before what we are proposing where the pergola starts to the fence line.
No, I don't care about the fence line. I
No,
want,
I know, you're
I-
asking this distance. 7
yes,
feet.
but, okay,
Okay,
so, thank you. Now, you said if you took a meter off the width, you couldn't roof it. But if you took a meter off and moved it a meter closer to the pool, why couldn't you roof it then?
Well, I guess all I'm saying, right, if aesthetically, if this was your yard, all I'm saying is that if we move it over, we have this lost space, right, where is.
You didn't
Okay.
lose anything. It's still gonna be 6.9 meters wide.
Okay.
The only thing
So-
is it's 1 meter closer to the pool. It's still 6.9 meters wide. The only difference is it's 1 meter away from here. So now the distance between the property line and the outside edge of the pergola is now 2.83 meters. So you can still put a roof on it.
Oh, yeah, yes,
Right.
I mean,
That's the point I'm trying to make. You said
Okay.
you couldn't roof it then.
no, I didn't say that.
You said you could, yes, you did. You
So-
said you couldn't
so
close
Counselor
it off.
Stern, as long as your question was answered, then we'll move on
Okay.
to, I think it sounds like we're ready for a vote. So thank you for the clarifying questions. I think the point was to examine if there is some wiggle room and whether this application needs to be approved as is, or perhaps needs to be revisited. Is everybody ready for the vote? So those in favor? 2, and those opposed? And that's defeated. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the good discussion. And I encourage everybody to keep listening to one another and see where, some give and take and compromises can be achieved. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So may I have the resolution then to end the Committee of Adjustment meeting?
So the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 8:10 PM.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Widner moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we can go back to a regular agenda and the reports of departments. The first section of reports is from Director Gobby, Director of Public Works, starting with a petition for drainage. Versnick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to council. I report PW 2401, petition for drainage for Versnick severances. This report is here in front of us as basically follow-up to some severance applications that had previously been approved. One of the conditions was that the property owners put in a petition to get municipal drain for legal and adequate outlet for the lot drainage for these two newly created lots. So in following with that, we have the petition from the property owner. So this is to receive this petition and assign an engineer to complete the work necessary to facilitate these severances. With that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Not seeing any. May I have the resolution, please?
The report number PW 2401 entitled Petition for Drainage Versnick be received and that John M. Spreet of Spreet Associates Limited be appointed to prepare an engineer's report for the Versnick petition pursuant to sections 5 to 8 of the Drainage Act RSO 1990.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Sirleaf moves, Counselor Wilson seconds, all in favor? And that's carried. The next petition for drainage with the Township of Malahide, Mr. Gobby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council, report PW 2402 is a petition for drainage put in by the Township of Malahide. At this time, as council is aware, Five Star Metal had petitioned for a new drain to be constructed as part of their site plan agreement for the construction of works that they're doing there. As part of that, the township will be assessed costs on that drain, as we do have nearby road drainage going into the area, as well as the drain will cross the road. So by adding our name to this petition, it is essentially to achieve that we have improved outlet connections to that drain, so that when we do future road upgrades, ditching, anything like that along that stretch of road, that we do have a legal and adequate outlet available to the township to tie into. With that, I guess you can see on page 34 of your agenda, the overview there. We're just basically, it's a relatively simple project. The amount of assessment noted in there is basically going to remain generally the same based on the water that is going in there. The advantage of adding our name to this petition is basically so that we have a little more say in the overall design and to get those catch basins installed. So if there's any further questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Counselor Blinsky.
Deputy Mayor, what is the percentage of the drain that we have to pay for?
Mr. Gobby?
Through the chair to Councillor Galinsky. While the percentage isn't defined completely yet because the engineer hasn't completed the full drainage assessment, a rough estimate has basically been that approximately a third of the overall project will be assessed to the township. We did get a preliminary estimate that our assessment is likely going to be in and around the area of $25,000.
Thank you. Any further questions? Counselor Leach?
To you, Madam Mayor. So how does this affect the drainage project allowance? Is that keeping it within the norms that would be considered, or is this expanding that slightly?
He did some other fucking shit that he's put through for this.
Through the chair to Councillor Leach, with regards to your question, the overall the impact of this is basically going to be for us to add some catch basins. The cost of our assessment is probably going to go up a few $1,000s because of asking for these catch basins to be installed, because the municipality pays 100% of all road crossings anyways under the Drainage Act. We are going to be assessed and a significant portion of this project as well, just because of the roadside water that is currently going and receiving drainage. As for the overall allowance, I'm assuming you're referring to the drainage project allowance in our capital budget. We typically, in 2024, we are proposing carrying approximately $100,000. So this would be drawn out of that project, which is kind of carried as a contingency for these types of situations that come up through the course of a year.
Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through you to Mr. Godby. I guess anytime we have an opportunity to piggyback on some drainage for a road project is probably a good thing though, because it always has to be done. And that's a pretty low lying area up there, I believe, so.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor. That is very correct. It's one of these situations where, you know, you can get a lot of extra value by pairing at the start of a project that's already going anyways.
Great. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, the resolution.
The report number PW 2402 entitled Petition for Drainage Township of Malahide be received, and that the Director of Public Works or his designate be authorized to add the Township of Malahide to the existing Wagler petition for drainage under Section 4 of the Drainage Act.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Wilson moved, Counselor Leach seconds, all in favor? That's carried. And over to you again, Mr. Godby, for the Harvest Bowl grant application.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to council. Report PW 2403, Harvest Bowl grant application. The purpose of this report is essentially I'm seeking council's permission and direction to work with the Harvest Bowl in order to apply for various grants, as well as specifically the Ontario Trillium Fund Capital Grant, so that we can hopefully make some capital improvements to the South Dorchester Community Hall in support of keeping the Harvest Bowl operation at that location. This essentially came up as a follow-up from a report that I brought back in September of 2023 with regards to the update for the Harvest Bowl and their operation. I subsequently met with them on site while they were doing some of their work the one day. And through a conversation with Donna Lunn at the Harvest Bowl, we had been able to come up with that, you know, perhaps we could work together on some things and then bring that back to council should we be successful in obtaining some funding in order to kind of do some things that'll help support them in staying, as well as provides benefit to the hall as a whole and to the township as a whole through a joint application. So if there is anything further that council would like to discuss or have any questions, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you. Questions or comments? So to clarify then, so the application is made by the township. So any funds would be to the township. Any improvements and any fixtures or whatever would belong to the township. And so it doesn't, if we were to get a grant, there's no implication that ties us to the organization or any obligations to have the organization there. So it remains clean, so to speak, as far as, so could you comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council. The Ontario Trillium Fund is really intended to provide money and capital infrastructure to support community facilities and community well-being. So part of the idea of the joint application would be that it is a township site, And on that premise, we would be the ones receiving the money in order to improve our facility. The side benefit is that we're doing that and helping the community by supporting the Harvest Bowl, which also gives their community things. So that's where we feel we could give a pretty solid application forward in hopes that we could do some of the work that would alleviate some of those concerns that were previously addressed about things like water usage in the hydro servicing and just general site tidiness, storage issues that are there at the site. By maybe being able to get some of this money, we can make permanent improvements to our facility, which will help them do their job and cause less concern with signing a long-term agreement with the Harvest Bowl organization to remain at that site.
And technically it benefits other organizations too, right? Okay.
That is correct, because the facility and everything there would be available for anyone who chooses to rent that site from the township.
Thank you for adding that. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we have the resolution.
That report number PW 2403 entitled Harvest Bowl Grant Application be received, and that council directs staff to work with the Harvest Bowl to prepare an application for the Ontario Trillium Fund capital grant to provide capital upgrades in support of the South Dorchester Community Hall and the Harvest Bowl operation at the site. And further, that council authorize staff to apply for additional grant applications which may provide additional financial support for site improvements to the South Dorchester Community Hall.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Mr. Godby. We'll move on. Next on the agenda is a report from Clerk Adams regarding the data server replacement.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, to council. The replacement of servers was included in the approved 2023 budget. As you may recall, as part of a workshop that council received last fall from the IT contractor, the recommended next steps were for server replacement and consolidation of servers. Audits of the current configuration and the new hardware configuration led to the quote being finalized in late December. Throughout the review process, Dell has been able to supply special knowledge and expertise of the current operational hardware, as they have historically provided computer hardware to the township, and as a result, the data collected has provided a server specification that will allow for consolidation and downsizing. The township holds significant data with serious liability attached, and outlining the specifics of the server would expose this. As outlined in the report, the non-competitive single source negotiation for data server replacements meets the criteria under the township procurement policy for these types of goods and services. The approval staff are seeking tonight is for the authorization to proceed with the procurement of this item, as the funds have already been allocated in the 2023 approved budget.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, we have the resolution.
That report number clerk 2401 entitled Data Server Replacement be received, and that the municipal staff be authorized to proceed with a single source award for purchase and implementation of the data server replacement from Dell Canada in the amount of $27,379.57 plus HST.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Wilson moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Clerk Adams. And we'll move to building and planning. Back to Mr. Steele. Still with us? Yes. First on the agenda is an application for consent to sever. Can you describe the application, please?
Through your worship, the proposed service application is property to sever an existing, semi-detached dwelling that's currently under construction. The purpose of the application would be to sever it along the joint shared wall, so each of the units is on a separate lot and separately conveyable. The proposed consent would be consistent with policies and the provincial policy statement regarding promoting intensification, compact building forms, as well as mixed uses and densities. Additionally, we also be consistent with policies in both the county and Malahide official plans regarding ensuring that new lots created do not result in traffic hazards, can be adequately serviced, as properties would be serviced by municipal sanitary as well as private well. It would not negatively impact any kind of negative impact natural features or hazard lands within surrounding area. It is noted the proposed lots would not meet the minimum required lot area and frontage requirements of the zoning bylaw. And so a zoning bylaw amendment would be required as a condition, or is recommended as a condition of consent approval. Proposed lots would approximately have an area of 404 square meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 800 square meters. Additionally, the lots would have a frontage of approximately 10 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum lot frontage of 20 meters. It is noted that the zoning bylaw does not have different lot area and frontage requirements for different dwelling types. It's noted that the proposed lot size would be reasonable given the minimum standard would be for a single detached dwelling, where in this case, they're proposing for a semi-detached. It's also noted that review of other municipalities' zoning bylaws in the region identify that the proposed lot area and frontage requirements would be similar to the minimum proposed as part of this application. And additionally, reduced lot area will not have impact on servicing, as lots are currently serviced by municipal sanitary sewer. And so staff recommend that the application be supported, subject to the proposed conditions. And that concludes my presentation. Have any questions from members of council?
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's just more of a comment, I guess. This is pretty damn tight. And asking to do it once the thing's already built is the cart before the horse. So it's a bit of an odd way of going at things.
Thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have the resolution?
The report number DS 2402 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E324 of K2 Custom Homes, Inc., authorized agent Henry Clausen be received, and that the application for consent to sever of K2 Homes, Inc., relating to the property located at Lot 48 on Registered Plan 71, Township of Malahide, and known municipally as 51237 Ashton Street, be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report and the recommended conditions be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves. I need a seconder before we can take a vote. Councillor Lewis seconds. Those in favor? That's 4. Those opposed? That's 2, so that's carried. Thank you. Mr. Steele, the next application for another consent to sever, please.
Yes, Your Worship, this application is a proposal from the applicants. I'm proposing to purchase farmland currently owned by the Ankarts and add it to their existing farm operation. And so they have submitted an application to sever the surplus farm dwelling. Provincial policy statement, county official plan, and Malahide official plan all contain criteria for severance of surplus farm dwellings, including but not limited to that social lands be rezoned, or sorry, the proposed retained lands be rezoned to prohibit future residential dwelling. It's time to evaluate the application and if found to meet these criteria, subject to the recommended conditions included with this report. And so staff recommend the application be supported, subject to those proposed conditions being included. And that concludes our presentation. Have any pictures from members of council?
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Leach.
Through you, Madam Mayor. In the letter to the Land Division, it indicates that there's a site triangle that's going to be, that's referenced. Are the applicants aware of this ahead at the time of this application, or is this something that is still going to be considered?
Your Worship, the sort of email wasn't, or the agenda items were sent by email to the agent of this application for their awareness. These comments are provided to Land Division Committee for their consideration as the approval authority, where the township is a commenting body on the consent application. So these, if council supports the application, these will be forwarded to Land Division Committee, consider as part of their decision on the application at the subsequent public meeting that the Land Division Committee has.
Does that answer your question?
So the applicants are not aware of this stipulation yet?
Yes, if I can answer, Dave Rowe, I'm the agent, and I was notified today. This is, in my opinion, kind of very standard condition, especially on this type of situation with county roads or township roads to have a site triangle. I haven't spoken to my clients directly about it, but at this point, from a planning perspective, I don't have any issues with it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Any further questions or comments to the resolution, please?
The report number DS 2403 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E924 of Ben and Bonnie Ankar and Franken Cheryl Berkelmans, authorized agent David Rowe, be received, and that the application for consent to sever of Ben and Bonnie Ankar and Franken Cheryl Berkelmans relating to the property located at part of Lot 26, Concession 8, Township of Malahide, and known municipally as 11088 Walker Road be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Thank you. Mover and seconder? Councillor Glinski, I'll do a mover and seconder, and then I'll open it up for discussion. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Surinam moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. I'll open it up for further discussion. Councillor Glinski?
Madam Mayor, why is there so much extra information given here? I don't think I've ever seen a surplus dwelling with this much information. I think it's overkill myself. So I thought I should mention that. Thank you.
Mr. Steele, did you have a comment on that?
Your worship, just to clarify, what in terms of the information provided is consistent to the content of the report provided, that there's too much information included. I just need some clarification on the question.
Councillor Glinski, can you clarify further?
Madam Mayor, I'm not sure that we as council have to see the purchase agreement that I see here. And that's one of the things that I'm referring to as being overkill. And I have never seen that before. And basically to 90% of the people that are looking at it, it's none of their business.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
CO Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor Jaguar. This the package you're looking at was a package that was sent to council. That being said, this was brought up an inquiry from a member of council, and staff have looked into it, and we've updated our process. And when it comes to the supporting information or the application package, that's something that we won't be publishing on the agenda. But that being said, it is a public record, so that can, for instance, be requested by any member of council or by any member of the public who is interested in that. But certainly going forward, we want to make sure that we keep people's personal information as personal as we can. So we've changed that practice.
Thank you for that clarification. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree with you, Councillor Glinski. I actually called this in the minute I saw it because I thought this isn't right. And Nathan did have it removed, and you were sent another agenda, I believe. You should have been. If you weren't, well, then you should have been. It was all taken out second time, so thank you.
Yeah, so there was a change made and the agenda republished, I think, for the public without it. So yes, thank you. Councillor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, but the original agenda would have been public knowledge, so would it not? Would people not have that, general public?
It was on the site for a short time. We took it down and replaced it. No. Is that correct? Or not? I was resent to council.
Yes, that initial document again was just initially forwarded to council, but the public agenda again was posted as per notice bylaw provisions at the appropriate timing to ensure that it's sent to the public. The revised version was posted without all that surplus
Okay.
information to the
So
public.
thank you, yes. So only the revised version went to the public site. Thank you. And thank you everyone for catching that. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we have the resolution. Yes, we did do the resolution on that. Thank you. Those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Mr. Steele, we have one more report from you. This one is a formal request from St. Thomas Elgin Children's Services Department. Go ahead.
Yes, through your worship, the township has received a request from St. Thomas Children's Services seeking request to amend the township zoning bylaw with the intent of increasing accessibility and supply of child care spaces within the township and the county. Specifically, the request seeks council consideration for an amendment to add definitions to the bylaw that specifically define licensed home childcare. That would be in line with current provincial legislation of how it defines childcare provisions. Currently, the township bylaw doesn't have a specific definition for a home childcare as per the Child Care Services Act, and so that's the reason behind this request. And so staff are seeking direction to complete a further review and bring forward a future amendment as part of a housekeeping amendment for council's consideration at a future public meeting. That concludes the presentation. I have any questions from members of council.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, the resolution.
That report number DS 2404 entitled Formal Request from St. Thomas Elgin Children's Services Department to amend the child care provisions in the zoning bylaw to conform to the Child Care in Early Years Act 2014 be received, and that staff be directed to review the request and prepare an amendment to the Township of Malahide zoning bylaw for council's consideration at a future public meeting.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councillor Leach moves. Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Have a nice evening. We'll move on to, next on the agenda is the 2023 Building Permit Activity Report, and that'll be presented by CAO Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor Giguère. The total number of permits issued in 2023 was 155, and this represented a decrease from 2022, which had 199 permits. That being said, there were 14 new home starts, and the total value of construction, interestingly, was much higher at $33 million. In terms of analysis, it's likely that the total number of permits was fewer, again, due to, the rise of construction costs, and also likely due to the significant cost for borrowing as well that may have had an impact on here. That being said, it's noted by the CBO that the projects that they were reviewing were very large and very complex types of buildings.
Interesting trends. Questions or comments? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I know that CAO Diaz has already mentioned something about this, like the difference between houses and massive construction projects, warehouses, whatnot. If we are getting fewer houses built, it's maybe important to help move along the larger projects instead of having them delayed by months and months, if not a year. If we're getting fewer homes started, then making sure these larger projects that are much more lucrative as far as the township tax base is concerned. Helping these things along instead of hindering them would be something good for the township to consider. Thank you.
So noted. Other questions or comments? May I have the resolution, please?
That report number DS 2405 entitled 2023 Building Permit Activity Report be received.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Glinski moves, Counselor Lewis seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Next on the agenda, again with the CAO and myself, is the Malahide Township Strategic Plan completion milestone. Yeah, couldn't be done any sooner. I know staff, I think even starting last year, that's something that our management team has been looking forward to having in their hands so they can proceed with some direction. So this evening, our task is to just finalize, do some final tweaking as recommended by the consultant. CODS, did you want to add a few things before we go into discussion?
Absolutely. I think we're at a exciting stage of the process, and it's was enlightening to see the validation report, and that this is a vision that has been definitely being accepted by the public and provides, I think, clear direction of in terms of where we're going to be focusing on when it comes to our operations plans to ensure we do achieve that vision. So that being said, I am certainly excited to get started with looking at those implementation strategies moving ahead.
Thank you for those comments. So in the report from the consultant, there were a couple of suggestions for changes, some tweaks based on the feedback we received. So, and I think that's part of the resolution. We have to decide, we have to finalize the plan and approve it. So any comments, or do you agree with what has been suggested? And if I can recap, one of the first changes, we had a line that says, I think better, cheaper, faster. And I think the community said, I think it's understood. It's basically you're trying to do things better by partnering with others, and better can mean a number of things. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes means it's more efficient. So the recommendation is just to use better. And I think the other suggestion was around, so the last line around the priorities said establish, document, and enforce service levels. And Laurie suggested implement instead of service levels. So something maybe a little bit, he said, sorry, we're hearing a phone. Okay, so hang on one second. So a couple things going on. So first, there's a phone ringing, so we're just trying to sort where that phone is coming from. So it's probably in the OPP office, so we'll let that. So secondly, as far as the discussion to finalize the strategic plan, you should have a copy in front of you on your desk, so you know what we're talking about. If you, just in case you haven't memorized it. So what is the wish of council? Do you agree with those two minor changes to the wording? Councillor Leach?
I feel that those are excellent adjustments to the document.
Everybody else okay with that as well? Okay. And I think, and you probably saw in the feedback from the communities that, yes, it's nice to have a short document, but the downside of a short document is that some words, not every word can be explained in that document. So I think having a reference like a lexicon, I think she suggested that would define, and that was something that came up in the community discussions, like we need to define what those words mean. So that way, anyone looking at this plan for the first time, who has not been part of developing it and the discussions behind it, will know what is intended. So that will be developed as a companion document. And I think there was another suggestion in the report related to the budget. So I think we should be very proud and pleased with the fact that we were able to do this for very little money. And that's based on all the different contributions. And on that, I really want to thank staff for all the extra effort. This is not, obviously, this is not something that we do every year. So I recognize that this is above and beyond the sort of regular responsibilities, and everybody contributed. And I want to acknowledge Director Boylan, probably took the brunt of the work, because the most of the work happened during the summer, and there's a lot of preparation. As you may recall, that first workshop in August, a lot of documentation had to be gathered, a lot of logistics and coordination. So the same with Allison, her team, and the front staff who did all the design. Like, we didn't have to have external graphic designers, and everything was done in-house. So it's been a fantastic team effort. So, but there is a recommendation that the unspent portion be carried forward to support implementation, because the priorities we've identified will require some specific projects. Those are to be determined by staff, and we come forward with some suggestions, but in principle, for now, we wanted to see if council was in favor of carrying that unspent portion forward. Comments on that? Councilor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, I think it's a good idea just to carry that over so that we have money to start implementing some of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I guess it'd be safe to say this is a pretty fluid document. This isn't written in stone for 20 years. We don't know what's going to happen with all the development and everything. So if anybody wants to make changes, it's probably going to be cost of making changes, but everybody has to be aware, yeah, it can change like that. So thank you.
And typically what happens with the strategic plan, at least with my experience, there's a bit, you may recall that in some of our workshops and discussions, we looked at a tree model. And so this is like an upside down tree. And you're absolutely right, Deputy Mayor Widner. So as things happen in the environment, the first thing we would look at is the priorities. So those are more likely to change if, you know, priorities in the province and externally change. So, and there would be actually the operational plan that would change first. And then if it's really more significant, then you change the priorities. If it's something really drastic, then you change the values. So what I'm trying to say is that the vision, mission, values are likely to be good anchoring points that we'll be able to rely on and use as a guide. And certainly on a yearly basis, we'll review the operational plan and the priorities. And that was another expectation that came out very clearly in the validation process, is that the community, the comments were that this is nice, but now we need to see, we want to see reporting on this. We want to see concrete key performance indicators, I think the term was used. And so we want to monitor this, and we want to be able to adjust it. And there's an expectation that we would consult with the community as well if and when we make changes. So absolutely, this is a guide that, but as I said, you can't adjust a plan if you don't have a plan to begin with. So now we're well equipped to move forward with a little bit more clarity. Okay, any further discussions or comments? And again, my thanks to staff and council. This was also additional time, additional number of workshops and meetings and discussions. So I think that was a good investment on everyone's time, and I appreciate everyone's contributions. So the resolution,
Oh, Sarah's got it.
oh, so, Councillor Leach, sorry.
That's all right. Madam Mayor, I'd like to just share with everyone that this is just one form of teamwork, and we pulled together well to accomplish the task. Under budget, which means we've got more budget to implement with.
Very good point. And yeah, very good exercise of team exercise as first year as a council. So that was great. Thank you for highlighting that. Councillor Cerna.
Yeah, well, part of the reason we were under budget and piggybacking on Sarah's teamwork was thanking yourself for all the stuff you did on your own time to cut corners, and you did a lot. Believe me, everybody should know that. So yeah, thank you for taking the leadership role and
Well, that's very kind of you to acknowledge that. It was my pleasure. It happens to be an area where
well, you
I have-
told me to
I
say
know a
that.
little bit.
Reading it. Did you read it all?
Put away that script. Put away that script and the $10.
She's
but-
blushing now.
So I was happy to contribute this on my own time, as everyone does on council with their own expertise. So team effort. Thank you. Now the resolution?
The report number CAO 2401 prepared by the mayor and CAO and entitled Malahide Township Strategic Plan Completion be received, and that council approve the strategic plan as amended and proposed, and that council direct the CAO to proceed with the implementation, operationalization, and communication of the final 2023 to 2033 strategic plan.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Cerna moves. Counselor Glinski seconds. All in favor? And that's carried. We'll debate later if it was from the heart or not. So next on the agenda is reports of committees and outside boards. We have a report from Long Point Conservation Authority. We have the minutes. We have their draft budget. We also have the Catfish Creek Conservation Authority minutes. Any questions or comments, anything to add on those reports? Or minutes and budgets? Seeing none, we have the resolution.
That the following reports of committee and outside boards be noted and filed: Long Point Region Conservation Authority, December 6, 2023 minutes, and their municipal notice of 2024 draft budget, and the Catfish Creek Conservation Authority, November 9th, 2023 minutes.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Next is correspondence. There are 7 items. Director Godby, did you want to speak to number 6, the nominations for Good Roads?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council, this correspondence came through for the Good Roads Association looking for nominations for their board of directors. As a staff member and a member of Good Roads Association, I do believe it is a worthwhile cause, and I would be happy to nominate Councillor Leach, who has expressed an interest in joining the board of directors. So with that, I do believe that we have a drafted resolution that we could perhaps look at just to show, if it is council's desire, that there is support to have one of our councillors from the Township of Malahide represent us on this board of directors.
Clerk Adams, can you read the resolution? Then I'll open it up for comments or questions.
Whereas the Good Roads Association is a municipal association concerned with the quality and design of transportation infrastructure in Ontario, and whereas the Township of Malahide has vested interest in road maintenance, education, and safety for the diverse array of road uses on Ontario municipalities, and whereas Councillor Sarah Leach's knowledge and experience is well suited to represent these interests on behalf of the township and province as a whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Malahide supports and endorses the nomination of Councillor Sarah Leach for the Good Roads Board of Directors.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis. It's nice to see that level of support. So Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. Comments, questions? Councillor Leach.
I'd like to thank everyone for their support and hope to do our council and staff proud.
And I want to thank you for being willing to contribute in that way. So we have a mover and seconder, ready for the vote, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Any other comments on other items in correspondence? And thank you, Mr. Gottby, for preparing that nomination. Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a comment on number 7, the Thames Valley District School Board. We got a letter from them. Now, in my opinion, I find it very condescending. They're asking all these groups, and that's fine. It's a pretty closed loop what they're asking. I don't see any word where it says parents, ratepayers, or especially the teachers. And the teachers are the ones getting the brunt of the abuse, and they have no backup. They can say whatever they want. They don't have any backup. I know this personal experience. They go to the principals and they don't have enough money. I don't even want to hear it. And you know what? A lot of these that are getting abused are women. And we really have to be aware of that. And if we stay silent on this, all we're doing is just promoting it. So I think maybe we should send off another letter, maybe clarifying these points. Let's have everybody involved, not just a special small bunch of groups. So that's my opinion, but I found it condescending and it really bothered me. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Leach.
Would it make sense to have that correspondence go out to all the Thames Valley catchment municipalities as well as the board?
So I'm wondering if they said that their decision was imminent, right? The report.
Report of the future board meeting and did not make any decision on the map.
Right. So to me, it seems we clearly expressed our opinion. They've acknowledged it. So it's on the record. Would it be worthwhile to wait to see what their final decision is? And then respond to that and invest. I'm just concerned that right now it's okay, but we heard you. I don't know if we have anything to add to a second submission. And should we await their decision? So we know we're all supportive of that this is an issue. In the meantime, we could also perhaps look further into what exactly is involved in this resource officer program. And we could even invite the OPP to talk to us because it is a concern to them. So we could seek additional information from the OPP, what their view is, maybe inform ourselves even more so that we could be prepared to respond to a decision. Thoughts? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We already know what the OPP think. It's just school board seems to they just want to hear from certain groups. They don't want to hear from the ones paying the bills for one thing. And the teachers, I mean, I don't see anywhere, I could be reading it wrong. I don't see anywhere it says teachers on here. Why wouldn't they want to know what their people think? If you want to do it after the decision, I don't suppose ever in history the decision has been reversed. We already know that dealing with Springfield School and the rest of the crap we had to go with. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. Like I say, if we don't do something, somebody's going to get hurt one of these days badly. So thank you.
Councillor Glinski?
Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Widner, Deputy Mayor Widner makes a valid point. Just looking at the agenda, it doesn't tell us what a resource officer program really is. And I think that needs to be clarified. So if whoever's putting this together, that's one thing they can ask for, is a clear definition of a resource officer. Because I'm just afraid that they'll just pull something out of the woodwork and say, well, you're our new resource officer. Well, big deal. No teeth. And I think it's got to be somebody that has teeth, like a OBP officer.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Any further comments on whether we wait, or I'm just trying to think of what would be different if we were to write again? You know, what, is there something, like, what would we say, that how different that letter would be? Because if it repeats the same message, I suspect we'll get the exact same response. So that's the
Thank you, Mayor.
dilemma.
So you don't feel if we include parents and teachers and the ratepayers, it would make any difference? I mean, they've got a list of people they're gonna talk to. I don't think it's big enough.
Yeah, what I don't know, like, I don't know that in their response that they've captured, my understanding is that the review's been going on for a while, and I don't know if they've captured everyone that has been consulted. I think they named a few. But I certainly hear your concern. So perhaps what we could do is find out, if what I'm hearing correctly, we want to make sure that at least the parents and teachers have been consulted. And perhaps, so would council be in favor of sending that correspondence? Just say, we'd like to see we understand you're, doing a consultation process and you're about to make a decision. We would like to clarify. If we think it's important that teachers and parents have been consulted, we'd like to clarify if they have been. Something like that. So again, it keeps our voice out there without repeating ourselves and risking being dismissed. Okay, Councillor Cerna.
Well, we do that as a council, and you do that yourself as mayor, that you always want to consult with the public. And we would try to involve everybody. Well, right now, what I'm hearing is they're not doing that. Well, then we want to make sure. So let's do that.
Let's
And
make
if
sure.
if they're going to, like you said, let's make sure, like Councillor Galinsky said, that they get somebody in there that has some teeth. Because the problem is anymore, and I said this a couple of meetings ago, that the problem with as I see it, there's no disciplining. Kids get away with murder. You
That
can't
would
touch
be-
them.
Yeah.
You can't
Sorry.
touch them. You can't admonish them. You can't call them a little bastard, whatever. And you just can't do anything like that. And the kid can turn around, give you the finger and say, F you, and that's
So,
fine.
again, I don't want to speculate on.
You're not
So,
speculating. I know this. Okay? My brother was a teacher. He married a teacher. It's kids gone wild. That's what it is. Okay,
So-
yeah, let's do what we have to.
Yes. So we will clarify
Sorry.
their consultation process. Okay. Is that clear? Is that good for the direction?
Yeah.
For staff? Okay. Any other comments on the other items? Councillor Leach?
I'd like to support number 2 and 3.
Thank you for that. Did staff have a comment on number 3, the municipal equipment operator course? Is that something that staff would support also?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. It is something that I believe staff would support. AORS is one of our leading public works organizations in Ontario, and they do provide a lot of good training programs to staff already. And, I think what they're ultimately trying to achieve is creating a good base level for hiring new individuals who want to get into the public works trades a level, a course that they can take, which basically sets that base knowledge. And then you gather more of your specific knowledge as you get hired on with a municipality and start to do their more specific works. So from my perspective, it would be worthwhile.
Thank you for that. And thank you, Councillor Leach. Anything else? So the resolution then.
So that items number 2, 3, and 7 be supported and the remaining items be noted and filed.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Wilson moves, Deputy Mayor Widner seconds, all in favor, and that's carried. Next on the agenda, other business. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just, I wanted to speak when Mr. Godby was up, but I wasn't able to, so. Kind of a bittersweet day for the township. We have to say goodbye to a good friend. The Ford Focus has sold today. Yeah, and along with 3 of our trucks, and one's gone to retirement to Georgia, I hear, so. It was a good car. I was on council when we bought that thing. It was dirt cheap and did well. And we got what, $900 or $800 out of it, so. So anyway, good job on that. We sold 4 vehicles and we got a reasonable amount of money on them, so it sure helps for the budget anyway. Thank you.
Any other comments, other business? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. A week or so ago, there was a article in the London Free Press. And of course, every time I see anything to do with the Thames Valley School Board mentioning Springfield, it sort of gets my back up. So I contacted the trustees and also got a hold of, I talked with Paul Sador. He's the superintendent for Springfield and multiple other schools. In the newspaper article, it says the school board also has identified schools with available space to accommodate potential facility collaborations with municipal and community partners. So that is one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. So I was told that there is an annual meeting of facility collaboration with the planning department, capital planning. I don't remember hearing anything about this meeting last year. So I was sort of, I guess, surprised to hear that. Apparently there is another one coming up. I don't know if that's at the county level, certainly haven't heard anything at the township level. And like I said, it's one thing to talk about accommodating potential collaborations with municipal and community partners. That's great that it's being said, but I would like to sort of hear what's in mind, and I guess do something about it or try to, because it doesn't sound like there's appetite through the trustees or the board to be closing schools, but anytime Springfield gets mentioned in any of it, I just get worried. So one of the things that we could do to alleviate available spaces is to have more families living in Springfield. So if we could do something about that, that'd be great. And whenever anyone hears anything of the annual meeting with the planning and capital planning department, I would love to hear about it myself too. And if the school board has any questions about our municipality and possible partnerships, it'd be great if they would speak with our staff about it. Don't think I've heard any staff mention anything about it, however, so just putting it out there. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll endeavor to double check. I think I have seen some correspondence about the date of that meeting going through my desk. So I think I can double check that and make sure it's forwarded to everyone. And, maybe, I don't know if it's open to the public, but at least it should be known. And I think, yeah. Yes, yes. So I'll make a note to double check that. Thank you. Any other business? No? We'll move to bylaws. We have 2 bylaws being considered. They are part of one resolution. I don't know if there are any comments from staff before we consider them. Director Spord, was there anything you wanted to add to the fee schedule changes?
Yes, your worship, just give me a second here. I'm just gonna bring up my notes. So the bylaw today is just the update of the bylaw we did in February. So in 2023, passed the current bylaw changing the cost recovery for services provided by Allied Fire Services. This update before you is reflects a change in the MTO rate. So every year they raise their rates in the MTO. Our fees coincide with that, so we keep it the same. So Highway 3 and all our roads are the same. So the only thing we've changed on the fee structure is just raise the rate from last year's $551.89 to $559. So just $551 to $559, just $8 increase. And that just shows in the fee schedule and Schedule A. Since we put the bylaw in place in February, our cost recovery has gone up somewhat a lot, and we're just looking to keep that going. So just for reference for council, a cost recovery in 2021 was 31,612. 2022 was 23,709, and then for 2023 was $117,158. So that's for your consideration tonight, and that's it.
Any questions on that? Counselor Leach?
I see that it is the 559 is changed up higher, but when you go down into the permits section, or not the permits, but the fees for service, the MTO rate, it's like at the very bottom of your document, it's still 551.89. Do those also need to be?
Yes, they'll all be
adjusted?
changed. It's I think that I have updated their one. I don't know if we have the wrong one on there, but
Okay.
it
Yeah,
is
at the-
559 for the MTO rate per vehicle. So
Okay, it's the first 2 are changed, but the bottom 2 aren't in the failure to comply section.
yeah, we'll ensure that's corrected.
Thank you, Counselor Leach. Okay, so if there's nothing else, then we'll proceed with the resolution.
That the following bylaws be considered read at first, second, and third reading and properly signed and sealed. Bylaw number 2401, PH Engineering Rezoning, and bylaw number 2402, Fire and Emergency Services Fee and Charges, to ensure that the cost is correct in each of those scheduled items.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Counselor Surna moves, Counselor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That's carried. Confirmatory bylaw.
The bylaw number 2403 being a confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third readings and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Wilson moves. Counselor Lewis seconds. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Just making sure, new year, we can then proceed with adjournment.
The council adjourned its meeting at 9:13 PM to meet again on February 1st, 2024 at 7:30 PM.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Widner moves. Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.